Okay, so this will be available on YouTube. I think we're also going to put it in our Facebook page. We have a Facebook page that's for real estate investment here in the DC area. So my name is Glenn Hughes. My partner is Gift Hughes. She's on the phone. She's on the computer as well too. Say hi, Gift. I got to go through the legalese, so I'm going to just flash this page. But if you read it, basically, I'm not an accountant. I'm not an attorney, and you should get professional advice if you're going to do any type of real estate investments. However, the concepts here that we're going to review are all best practices, and they're outlined in the book Millionaire Real Estate Investor, written by Gary Keller. If you're not familiar with 23 Homes, with Glenn and Gift, we have an awesome website. It's an award-winning website here in the DC area. It's the number 23homes.com. Everybody always asks what the 23 for. So is the 2 stands for a husband and wife, or partners, 2 partners. And then the 3 is kind of a pueblo where you have 2 walls and a flat roof that goes over the top of it. So a little background about 23 Homes. Just coincidentally, in a normal market, which we're not in a normal market, we sell houses under 23 days. My name is Glenn Hughes. I'm a licensed realtor, licensed contractor, licensed project manager. Overall, an awesome guy. That's the reason my wife married me. But she also is licensed in Virginia, Washington, D.C., and Maryland. So we can pretty much take care of anybody within the DC metropolitan area. So while we're here today, we're here to talk about real estate investment. It's what we think is the best investment. And after I show you the numbers, most people will agree with me. Not sure what's started about thinking about real estate investment, but it is a great way to be a proactive, offensive finance person as opposed to a reactive defensive person. Defensive people are basically looking to cut coupons and cut expenses, and we'll talk a little bit more about that today. So we've got a lot of information here, and again, I'm going to go real quick. During the first session, we talked about all the possibilities of real estate investments, what the myths and understandings are, that 401ks and retirements and pension funds are not going to get you the type of lifestyle that you would like to have. Most people wind up settling. We went through all the numbers with regards to that. This second session here, we're going to hit the power of leverage and proven systems. The next session next month, we're going to be essentially having a Q&A and going through the nitty gritty. So these are just concepts. It's meant to be just kind of a basic overview of real estate investment. First things that they always want us to kind of look at are data. So we're going to go over to our website here. Hopefully,
just want to make sure everybody see the slide, right? Everybody? Okay, good. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, good. So if you came over to 23 Homes, this is our website, and you clicked on our consulting and then videos, we have got a real-time real estate dashboard about halfway down. Washington, D.C., Mid-Atlantic real-time real estate dashboard. Everything on this dashboard is red line, meaning that it's all maxed out to one side or the other. So it is a very funky market that we're in right now. Feel free to share this, with friends, relatives. But as far as an investor is concerned, this is a great place to go just to get a pulse on what the market is doing. And down here, days on the market, you can see back in February, this time last year, it was 33 days. To January, it's only 11 days. And that's just a bump up from 10 days, which it was in December. And we're hitting the heavy season of the market where everybody wants to put their houses on the market in the springtime. So it'll be interesting to see. However, if you go to the top here and just read what some of these are, you can see that new listings are still far below this purple one over here to the left. So you all can go through that. It's got a ton of great information. But as far as being able to have real-time finger on the pulse type of gauges, I think that's one of the better tools that are out there. So definitely take advantage of that. So if you're a real estate investor, you have to look for a deal now. And there's not a lot of deals out there. So you're looking for really a distressed property. It's if you follow our program from last month, we talked about being able to buy real estate anywhere from 5 at a minimum to 15% below market value. There are some deals out there. Gift actually had one 2 weeks ago. She was able to get a house for $530,000, I think it was what she secured it for, and it wound up selling for $550,000. Our buyer fell through.
So that is off market deal basically. It's not considered deal, right? For a consumer, like a buyer, it's hard to find the home that is good with reasonable condition and good price, because once that type of home come in, people are jumping in it and it bid up so high. What I did is I found the off market home before before they put on the market, and be able to negotiate the sale price for the buyer. Sadly, the buyer finance is not good enough. We have to let go, but then they put on the market. They got cash buyer at 560 in 2 days closing. So that's amazing.
So yeah, it's a hard market out there. I know Gift and I have been bidding on a couple properties as well too, and we'll report back to you how we're doing. So the being able to have your big why, whatever your why is, you need to know what that is. Remember that all action is generally fear-based. I could give you article after article after article on the motivation. Even the world's greatest athletes, they say in the back of their mind, there's somebody out there right now who's doing more push-ups than me, running longer and harder and faster than me. So being able to motivate yourself to take action is generally off the fear. The love or the possibility is what you want to do as far as goals are concerned. So big goals, big models, big habits, that's what we're talking about today. And we are going to get right into it. So real estate is a phenomenal investment, and we went through some models last month as well too. However, real estate has never been, in the course of them tracking history, tracking real estate history back to the early 1800s, it's never been a zero gain process. So real estate is always appreciating. We're going to go through some numbers today and prove that to you, allow you to prove it to yourself by looking at the data. And real property can be leveraged. So if you have 3 or 4 properties, we could show you how you can put those into an LLC and then go to a bank and say, I would like to leverage this to go out and buy more. I want to get a loan against it. And there's specific loans that you want to try and secure as well. And we're going to next month, we're going to get into that as well. So why is it the most able one out there? First of all, anyone can buy it. As long as you've got decent credit, you can buy a property. You can go out and get a part-time job over a year at a fast food restaurant and save up $20,000, which is a good down payment on $100,000 house. You can buy one in Ohio. You could buy $100,000 houses in Nebraska. They're not going to appreciate because coastal cities don't appreciate coastal cities appreciate and have more of the ups and downs than the center of the country homes do. So anybody can buy it. They're rentable. So if you rent it out, it's flowing cash right out the gate. So it's like having your own franchise, your own McDonald's franchise, your Subway franchise. You can put your own sweat equity into it. We've had my mentor actually went out and got a HVAC license at one time, and I've got his numbers here, right here from in the Washington, D.C. area. I've got his houses listed. He actually shared all his financial data with me here in Pimmit Hills, which is right in Tyson's Corner. So we can take a look at his numbers over 40 years. He's got 40 years of data for us to look at tonight. And he went out and got his own HVAC license so he could buy the charge, the Freon that goes inside there. They don't use Freon; they use a different product. So you can put your own sweat equity into it, change out your own windows, paint it, what have you. You get depreciable items, deferrable items for tax benefits. It's stable, so it's slow to rise and slow to fall most of the time. 2008 was an exception, and it's people always want it. It's livable. So real estate is an awesome way to be an active investor versus a passive investor. So what are passive investments? Stocks, mutual funds, and money markets are all passive investments. So here's the kicker, though. If you take a look at the top, it's just common sense. You have to have $100,000 right out the gate in order to be able to get a return either through the stock market, the mutual funds, money market. So unless you're a trust baby, most people they just don't start off with $100,000. However, it's easy to save up $20,000. If you look at the far right column, it's easy to save up even if you had to get a part-time job, as I mentioned, to save up $20,000 to earn money to get a job. Heck, you could get a nighttime job at one of the government contractors, which pays $22 an hour, and that alone would get you an extra $45,000. So you'd be able to go out and buy one house a year just with that part-time job. So the carrying cost, your mortgage is offset by the rent. So if you're putting down 20%, you're profitable right out the chute. You should be making at least $200 to $400 a month profit. The only time that you're not making money is when it's vacant. So you want to turn it over and make sure you're here in DC. A rental property, I was looking for a client last week, came on the market on Thursday morning. It was rented out Thursday night. You got to be kidding me. And guess where it was located? It was located all the ways out in Stanley, Virginia. So go all the ways out 66, make a left on 81, and go down about 30 miles. So that one came on the market Thursday morning, gone Thursday night. You get 5% appreciation. Now that 5% is quite interesting because this is from the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book, right? This is right out of the book. Wait till you see our case study that we're going to share with you, our 40-year case study here in the DC area. You get rental income out of it. So your adjusted ROI is 25%. Look at stocks, 4 to 7%. Mutual funds, 6 to 9%. Money markets, 2%, 25%. So how are they getting this 25%? Here it is right here. You're getting the appreciation, which on $100,000 is $5,000. And then you're putting in $20,000, which is that's equity right there. So that's how they're getting their 25%. So you'd have to, in order to start off making money, as I mentioned, you have to have a sack full of money in order to make money in the stock market or other investment tools out there. So what else is important about owning a house? We've got one client. He's been a W-2. He owns a property here in Northern Virginia. He retired out into Arizona. And I said to him, I go, you got an asset out here that you're just paying tax on. Why don't you rent it out? No, I don't want to rent it out. Calls me back a week later and goes, how does this rental thing work? How much can I get on it? So obviously he was interested. So we got his house rented for him because he's a W-2 employee, thinks like a W-2 employee. Every day, sometimes he would call me twice a day on how the process is going. I mean, he was essentially micromanaging me because he has a W-2 mentality. When you buy a rental house, you're now a business owner as long as you put it into an LLC. Heck, you could even get PPP money for rentals. The state of Virginia looks at it. They're giving out money to landlords who have tenants who are behind, or you could have tenants apply for it. So clearly it's a business if the federal government is giving you support money for your rentals.
Do you or someone you know looking to buy, sell, or investment in real estate?
If you're thinking about selling, our proven marketing plan can sell your house for top dollar with an absolutely smooth closing in the shortest period of time.
Call us 703-707-0334. We will help you.
Bye now. It's an active investment. I talked about that earlier. You get appreciation, which we're going to get into, and then you get all your tax write-offs. And we're going to cover the same topics a couple different ways. You'll see the same items, and the reason why I'm showing it in different ways is because you have to shift inside of your mind from thinking like a coupon or a W-2 employee to an actual business owner. And that's the whole purpose of this, because you won't buy unless you start thinking like a millionaire real estate investor. You're not going to take action. So here is, I got this from the dqydj.com. This is, I went back starting 2011 to 2021. So the S&P gets on average about 4.21%. So that's over a 10-year period. So now let's dig into our case study. This is my mentor. He currently has 5 houses. At one time, he had 12 houses, all in Pimmitt Hills. If you're not familiar with Northern Virginia or the DC metropolitan area, it's right next to Tyson's Corner. So it's a primo location. And what I want to point out here is that he started buying his first house in 74, 75, 78, then 86 and 87. His total monthly rental income is $10,700. Now here, this is based just on DC data, correct? Because this is all DC houses. You can go look them up. You can look up Butter Churn and Foxfield and Brian Jack. He has received 4.58, which actually is beating the 4.22 that you get on the S&P. However, if you looked at what he started off with, his purchase price in the 74 property was $42,000. He only put down $4,000. He just, that's what he put down. It was totally different market back then. Today, that property is worth $350,000. Not a bad ROI on a $4,000 investment, because he started off at $4,000. And the same with all these properties here. Back then, prior to 1988, all these mortgages were a tax deduction. The interest was tax deduction. In 88, they changed it where the only interest that you can deduct is on your personal home. That's the reason why next month we're going to be talking about some exotic tools where I am going to show you, this sounds crazy, you could pay off your house within 6 to 7, maybe 8 years if you're not disciplined, and you can be just debt free. You might not be financially independent, but you could be debt free with a couple financial tools that are out there. They're readily available. It's just that W-2 employees don't know, or if you're on you don't know about these tools. They're phenomenal.
I just want to add in on your case study a little bit, because if you see one thing that this person start early a year, right? When the home is not that expensive. So far, right now, we in 2020, everything is really expensive, but it's imagine another 20 years after this, what's going to happen, right? We just thinking about starting something now. So at least have one house for yourself or thinking about, okay, buy another one for investment. I actually rent most of his property here, and I know it's in very, very good location in Tyson area. And the rental is, he make a lot of money because, it's come in and go. His home has been maintained. He doesn't do a lot. I mean, as Duane know, as an investor, for rental, whatever is break, we replace it, or we need to just change what it need to be replaced or changing. We don't do fancy upgrade. So yeah, this person done very nicely. Especially you can see his portfolio went up so much. Now he's a millionaire. So that's something we're looking for, right?
So this is kind of like the big hat no cattle. Gary Keller is from Texas, so that essentially means that you're living high in the hog, but you really, it's like people who buy these mega mansions that they look awesome from the outside, but there's no furniture on the inside. So that's kind of big hat no cattle. So if you're always spending everything that you're bringing in, you need to change that and learn how to live off of less. So you're not really having a big face. You're essentially, in the long run, you're going to have a big face. So you want to start getting up to the point where you're saving some of your capital and you're reinvesting that so you can get cash flow. And then that gives you more cash, and then you consume lastly. So if you look at the bottom of this, you're going out, you're getting a job, you're earning some cash flow, you're taking your cash, and then you're consuming it on something. Where the top model is the opposite. You're using that to improve your cash flow. And we're going to get into some great information now. Excuse me. So Robert Kiyosaki, he wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. On the top there is where most W-2 employees are. And you can see in the background, I've kind of have the Monopoly board, because that's what doing real estate's all about. It's all about understanding your profit and loss. So if you're a W-2 employee, you are always focused in on your profit and loss. And then you wait for your income tax return in April. So the expenses, you're looking at cutting coupons, ways to tighten your belt, to reduce expenses. And on the top, you're looking for a pay raise. You're looking for more education. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's what everybody does. I still have a job myself. However, what I always focus in on now is not only the cash flow, but I'm looking at the balance sheet, which is your assets and your liability. So your personal house there at the bottom could be an asset or it could be a liability, depending upon how you look at it. It is a liability. Your personal house is a liability if it's mortgaged, just a regular standard mortgage. However, it is an asset. Your personal house can be an asset if you have a first position home equity line of credit that does auto recast each night at 12 midnight. So all those are all big words that we're going to be talking about next month. It's also an asset if you are renting out a room or the basement or a section of the house. However, if you have just a regular mortgage on your personal house, it is a liability. So you have to start thinking about assets and liabilities along with your expenses and income. And then what is your monthly cash flow? What are you getting out of all your investments? So then the next question is kind of a game. If everybody, you want, just kind of, you could type in the box if you want. How many homes do you think today Robert Kiyosaki owns. He bought his first house 2 years before Dan Hiley. Dan Hiley, in his example, has got 1974, 1974, 1975, and Kawasaki bought his first house in 1973. Anybody want to take a guess on how many homes Robert Kiyosaki has right now? Yes. Is that better?
50?
He's got, if you guys can hear me, hopefully Gift says you can't hear me. He today has 7,000 properties. Is that better? I'm talking right into the microphone.
Yeah. I can hear you.
Okay, everybody else can hear me, Gift.
Yes.
So yeah, he has got 7,000 properties, which is astronomical if you think. He's probably making upwards of $4 million a month just on cash flow. So what are your goals? This is right out of the book. Your goal is to buy $1 million of real estate, pay off $1 million of real estate, which we're going to show you next month how to do that, and then earn $1 million from or in real estate. Rule number one is you always make your money on the buy, 5 to 15%, minimum 5 to 15% below market. The IRS only allows you to write off your personal residence. So you can leverage your personal residence to be a asset versus a liability. Gift and I started doing that back in 2007. It's when we purchased our first property, and we used our home equity line of credit to purchase that house. So here in DC, you have to buy, I'm going to up it just a little bit. You need to buy $2 million of real estate. You need to pay off $2 million of real estate, and you need to earn $1 million in real estate. That's your goal here in DC. Keep in mind, and we covered this last month as well too, is that most people buy real estate within a 60-mile radius. So that means you can go as far north as Baltimore, as far west as Frederick, or even a little bit further than that, as far south as Fredericksburg, or maybe even, South Stafford County. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. You never want to get too far off a main highway, though. You want to stay near a thoroughfare, ideally near a hospital, near a government center, near a college. Those houses will always sell and always be rented out. Why do you want to buy $2 million? Because we know here in DC that if you own $1 million of real estate, you're cash flowing, I'm going to start using the terminology, about $72,000 a year. And again, if you go back and look at Dan Hiley's numbers, these are the same exact numbers. So $2 million would get you $142,000 a year of cash flow. And why is that important? The average salary here in DC is $65,500. So if you multiply that times 2, it's 131. So 142 should be able to take care of a husband and wife, or two partners that live together. So you should be able to live comfortably here in DC. Now, if that's all paid off and you're making 142, you can move to Florida and just keep your rental houses up here. And we'll talk very quickly about property management companies. So market value. So the first part of it is your equity buildup. This right here is talking about, again, an asset versus liability. So the model, the first part of the model of the power of leverage is to really focus in on the equity buildup. As you can see, if you buy it right, you have a little bit of equity coming out the gate. As you pay down your debt, and who's paying down the debt? Not you, the renter is. As you're paying down that debt, you're going to get more equity, and eventually it's going to be paid off. So you'll have an investment, you'll be getting 100% equity, and you are going to be a happy camper with an extra $2,000 a month. This is on a single family house I'm speaking of. So $2,000 a month. I'm sure nobody here would turn down an extra $2,000 a month. The second part of real estate cash flow, or the power of leverage, is the cash flow growth. So
do you or someone you know looking to buy, sell, or investment in real estate?
if you're thinking about selling, our proven marketing plan can sell your house for top dollar with an absolutely smooth closing in the shortest period of time.
Call us 703-707-0334. We will help you.
Bye now. So you have your vacancy and your expenses, you have your debt service, and then you have whatever cash flow that comes out of it. As long as you buy it right, you should be cash flowing anywhere from $200 to $400. If you buy it right, I shouldn't really say this, but we have got a lot of clients that we help them buy it right, and they start off cash flowing about $550 to $650. Some do really good in $700. So that's amazing if you think about it. $6,000, an extra $600 a month is $7,200 a year. How long do you have to wait for a pay raise for $7,200? So over a little bit of time, you pay it down. You can see that your cash flow is increasing in the bottom there, and a little bit more. You can see that you always have your vacancy and expenses. Your debt service is going down. Your cash flow is go up, and when it's paid off, you've got all cash flow, and the only thing you're concerned about is vacancy and expenses. So here, this is it right here. Why do people do it? Return on investment. It's less out of pocket for more in pocket. If you remember, all the other investments out there, you need a sack full of money just to get started. You get the tax write-offs. You get the growth through equity. You get growth through cash flow, and it can be used for college savings and whatever other things that you want to do. Take care of your parents, travel. And here's a list of all the different tax write-offs that you've got. Operating expenses. As long as you put it into an LLC, we can next session, we'll show you how to do LLCs, trusts, financial instruments. You get to mortgage interest in certain circumstances. You can write that off. Financing costs for points paid on a loan. So if you refinance, there's miscellaneous closing costs that are tax expense, legal costs that are tax expense. You get depreciation, which is awesome. You buy a new refrigerator for $1,000. You put it in your rental unit. You get to, your accountant will write off X amount of dollars on that new refrigerator over, I think it's 8 to 10 years. So each year you're getting to write off money from your taxes. Any type of capital improvements are awesome. You get to write that off. Personal property. So if you buy a lawnmower or you want to furnish your rental house, that's all a tax write-off. Toilets, paint, yard care, everything else. Now, again, if you go back and look at my previous slide that were a few slides back, you have to go out and have dinner with your significant other and talk about your investments together. That is a tax write-off. You need to go take a boondoggle, or you need to go on vacation. You need to make sure you talk about go look at a property while you go on vacation. That vacation now becomes a tax write-off because you're doing bird dogging, looking for your next investment. So these are all different things that you can use in order to increase your cash flow, because that's what it's all about. So what type of property should you buy? I am biased, so I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to tell you a story. I've got a friend of mine who worked 2 security jobs. He worked at the Department of Justice downtown, and then he worked at DARPA at night. This gentleman was working 16 hours a day. And what he would do is he would buy brandy new condominiums, because he figured out that's when you get your most appreciation. So for example, if you look at that condominium, he was buying, on the first or second floor, they were still working on the 8th floor or the 9th floor, still putting in refrigerators. So he bought one that was still unfinished. And he was up to, when I met him, he was 60 years old. He was working 2 jobs since his divorce in his 20s. He started off doing that to pay off child support. But he was a multimillionaire working 16 hours a day. He owned 8 condominiums around the DC area, and he bought them all the same way. My preference are single family houses for a variety of different reasons. The primary one being is that they're easy and quick to sell if you're in a snap. But let's go through each one. Duplex and fourplexes, we'll get to that in a second. Everybody loves duplexes and fourplexes, but there's some downsides to it as well too. So with a condominium, the pros are it's very cheap to buy a condominium. You can go out today and buy a condominium for under $200,000, less than, I'm going to say 1,000 feet from downtown DC. But good luck trying to sell it. The HOA fee on that condo is about $500 a month. What does that mean? It's going to chop into your cash flow. And if your tenants don't behave themselves, you're the one that has to pay the price. And as you can see at the bottom right here, less appreciation typically. My old colleague down at this Justice Department, his model was sound because he was buying them before the unit was complete. Single family houses, my favorite. You have more control. They're easy. There it is at the top, easy to resell. Surrounded by owner occupants, which means that those owner occupants are going to be like big dog, little dog, helping the people that are renting your house cut the lawn, how to cut the lawn. You're going to get more appreciation. The downside is that 100% loss when it's vacant, and it's only one franchise, basically one way to generate income. However, still my favorite. Here's the reason why. We're in Washington, D.C. You can have a house rented out within a weekend. Right now you can. Duplexes, 2 units. They're close together. You get economies of scale. They're less risky than a fourplex. You got great cash flow. Here's the issue: they don't appreciate as much as the single family house, and they're generally surrounded by other rental units. So you get a whole bunch of people. It becomes like how many people went to college and they lived on campus in the campus dorms. Essentially, it's the same thing. People are not taking care of it the way that they should. Fourplex, well, if a duplex was bad, a fourplex is even more complicated because you're going to have more people doing tenant damage and less appreciation. And you put 2 people together, I don't care how much they love each other, they're going to find something to argue about. It's the same thing here. You may have to put up with tenant conflicts or having the police go out there. So my favorite always is the single family house. Now, I talked about some scary items here. On the single family house, next month, we're going to talk about how to eliminate 100% of your risk when it comes to having a bad tenant. My mentor taught me how to eliminate the 100% risk. Greatest thing ever. I've spoken to many, even we have got clients who break our rule and then they're stuck. We just had one happen about, 6 months ago. And we said, hey, you should have done it this way. And they're just like, I didn't think it was the right thing. I really was looking out for my best interest. Okay, fine. You know what? You're right. And I'll explain that again next month, what that was all about.
Can I add something in that buying side?
Sure.
So many people misconception, right? They think, okay, buy the cheaper home, it will be better. We actually have to look into what is your goal and what is your return investment. Because let's say buying a condo, right now with this market, COVID really changing the lifestyle. People moving out from the condo living to either single family home or townhouse, more of the privacy. And in the same time, the condo actually down right now. If you really find a good deal, yes, it can be a good buy. Keep it for rent, not for flipping or thing like that. In the meantime, we have to look into how much condo fee would be, right? Compared with single family home, it's more of the appreciation quick, and also at the same time also a lot of maintenance part as well. So we can have to consider what is your goal, how much you have to do, and how much you want to get it back. In that case, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Gift. So you have to know what your value is, find your opportunity, make your deals. I could refer you to some great videos on YouTube. Essentially, it goes back, and I said this earlier, you know your value is you make your money on the buy. You make your money. You don't, everybody says, oh, well, I might pay a little bit more for it, but I know I'll make money over time. We talked about the mortgage last month. We talked about the mortgage guy who approached that, and it took him 15 years to go through the entire cycle. So again, all this will be up on YouTube. So you make your money on the buy, find your opportunity. Deals are out there. They come along all the time. You just have to be prepared for it. Next month, we'll talk about preparation. So being able to buy a rental house, you always have to start off the gate with a mortgage unless you get the home equity line of credit that we talked about earlier. First position home equity line of credit. So there's two ways of doing it. However, it's easier for the seller and the seller's agent to deal with a mortgage letter that's pre-approved as opposed to an exotic loan that's a first position. See, they're not going to understand this kind of stuff. Why is that? Because they're not investors themselves. So you start off with your regular mortgage if that's the route that you have to go. Use your 20% from your home equity line of credit to get yourself into the house, and then you're off to the races. What it does is it eliminates any qualifying issues with the seller, because a seller is going to look at it and say, oh, I don't, even the real estate agent, oh, I'm not familiar with this type of loan. How does this work? You're going to have to start off with a regular mortgage. It's sad to say. However, if you have a lot of equity in your primary residence, you can turn that into a piggy bank really fast. And we'll show you how to do that next month. So property managed versus self-management. Here in DC, the average is 10% for a property management company. You can put that into, if you are a State Department person or a military person and you're going overseas, property management is the way to go. Having your neighbor look after it or your commanding officer who lives down the street look after it, probably not the right thing to do. I can tell you horror story after horror story. We are aligned with a property management company that only charges 8%, and it's full service, just like the 10% big boys. So if you want to go property management, it makes life a little bit easier. They put the money right into your account at the end of the month, or you can have it saved in a escrow account. So if you need new windows or a new HVAC or a new gutter or what have you, they can manage all that for you. So it makes life a lot easier with property management. So go ahead and buy a house. If you have to move out of the area, you have to go take care of an elderly parent, a sister, a sibling, don't worry about it. Your property will be fine here in the DC area. Proven systems. We've gone through all the different items that I wanted to cover for tonight. Clearly, if you weren't able to make the first one, we covered a ton of information in there, especially the big why. And next month, we're going to be talking about the nitty-gritty of horror stories and how things work. So we've gone through all the concepts. At this particular point, you guys can open up your microphones and ask myself or Gift a question. Gift is the engine behind our investment property. She is awesome. So she knows probably more than I do. I just do a lot of talking during these webinars, but go ahead and if you have any questions.
I have question.
Do you or someone you know looking to buy, sell, or investment in real estate?
If you're thinking about selling, our proven marketing plan can sell your house for top dollar with an absolutely smooth closing in the shortest period of time.
Call us 703-707-0334. We will help you.
Bye now.
So what type of the property do you recommend? Because I think you go through very quick. I didn't catch it.
I recommend first a single family home.
Mhm.
If you can get it with a garage, great. If not, that's okay. And then secondarily, a townhouse with a low HOA fee. What does that mean right off the bat? That means that you need to stay away from Reston townhomes, because in Reston, you have to pay the Reston HOA and then you have to pay the cluster HOA. If you're going to buy a townhouse, you're probably going to have to look at pockets of Sterling, pockets of Potomac, maybe something out in Leesburg, or a great place is Manassas Park, South Manassas, Woodbridge, kind of the outlying areas.
Okay.
So the first one's going to be a single family house and the second one's going to be townhouse. I'm sorry?
Oh, no, I'm just going to help answer more. Also depend on what your goal is, right? What Glenn talking is more of the rental property. So if you are buying your first home, or you're gonna stay there or thing like that, it just depends. We have to look at the ROI. So, but highly recommend single family home, yes, if somebody can afford single family home versus stay in the condo or duplex.
Okay. Then come to my second question. So right now, if my current salary can cover, like, let's say if I already have 2 homes, how I'm gonna get another loan to secure for the third home, if it's how the bank will see what kind of income source that will enough to cover the third mortgage.
Gift, you want to do it or you want me to do it? So what I would do is, first of all, make sure that that first rental property is in an LLC, that you have a separate checking account, and that you have a rental agreement in place, because the mortgage company is going to want to see that. And then you're going to have very clean books. Use something like QuickBooks that tracks the monthly cash flow, because they're going to ask you for a P&L, and they're going to for a balance sheet. So if you have the P&L, the balance sheet, all these items, and it is cash flowing, you can go to the bank and say, I would like to get a loan against this property, specifically against the equity. So you have to look at packaging it to the bank so it's pleasing to the bank. We know how to do that, and we have some people in banking who could also help you package this the correct way. Now, if you don't have all those items, that's the first place to start. The second place after that is soberly looking at the cash flow. If you're not cash flowing money, there's a reason why. So then we would have to figure out a way to make sure that your first rental property is cash flowing properly.
A lot of times bank want to see, when they're looking for a loan, right? They want to see if you have a lease contract and how much is your mortgage is, and then you offset that. Technically, you don't really have a mortgage. Basically, they consider it as a no debt if it's somebody else pay mortgage to you. In the same time, when you do your tax, make sure you tell the CPA that it's another sort of income, because nowadays lender world, they're changing so much. They want to look at everything. Just like this year with COVID, they have to look at profit and loss year to date. I just bought another house, right? And then I'm refinancing it. My other property, they're asking in January, they're asking profit and loss, which doesn't make sense to me. It's only 1 month. But that's how the lender change. They're just saying that they don't care, but they don't want to see that because part of the requirement.
How about one more option? What if I make more money and I have the residual income and cover another mortgage? Would that be okay to buy another home, or you still recommend going to the LLC thing?
So you would have to first put in a loan application, and the bank would tell you that we have a couple local banks that work with real estate investors. So I can recommend them to you, and you could start a loan process with them. And they're nurturing enough to say, we would like you to structure this X, do A, B, C, D, come back to us in 3 months, then we could reapply and get it approved. So they like to collect, they like people who want to take a loan out and collateralize it with real estate. The third option, so you're Andy, I think Andy's talking, your third option, Andy, would also be to look at the first position home equity line of credit. That is an excellent way to pay off mortgages and buy additional rental properties, which we're going to cover next week. So you got 3 options in front of you, quite frankly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good question. Anybody else? I need my my doo-doo music over here so I could play.
I'm glad James just make it.
Hi, James. How are you?
So
Great job.
Oh, thanks, Trish.
Thank you so much for all that information.
You're welcome. I appreciate you swinging by. It's good to see you.
we have to help you next, Trish. I know you have been looking for investment property. Yeah, we can walk you through the process.
The other thing is how you were talking about the LLC, putting them in LLCs. If it's just in their name, they can still get personal insurance and have it covered under their umbrellas like you all do. So that's a great, but it does protect them more. So it's a great advice that you're giving them.
Yeah, and also Trish have a very, very good insurance cover structure because consider us, right? We some of the agent, they will not give me the advice the way you advise. You cover with the umbrella insurance and also consider as not a commercial, right? Yeah. That's big deal because if we have more rental, it's create more expensive. But for you, you have that the way to structure for us. So that's why
it's more protection.
Yeah. So with Trish, we all should know her about, if you ever need insurance, she's the girl. She did most of my property. So
outstanding. So thank you, everybody. We'll be back next month, and it's going to be, again, the theme is going to be nitty gritty. So we'll get into more details. Trish, I'll probably reach out with you and ask a couple insurance questions. And I've got some bankers that I'm talking to and some property managers. So next month is going to be really kind of the hands-on, how to structure an LLC, how to put together your rental leases so you can not be stuck. You eliminate pretty much 100% of the liability when it comes to having a renter in there that goes south. So a lot of good information.
thank you everyone for joining us. I see a lot of familiar face, familiar name. So if you ever need more detail or want to talk in Thai, let me know นะคะ คุยได้ตลอด
ขอบคุณมากค่ะ Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Thank you ขอบคุณมากค่ะเจอกันใหม่ค่ะ
Bye.
ขอบคุณค่ะ
Bye, guys. Thank you so much again. See you next month.
Address
Thank you ค่ะ